Good afternoon, guys. Today we are starting the chapter 24, urinary system. And this is the second last chapter. After this, we have the reproductive system. So in the urinary system, I will go over kidneys, its gross and microscopic anatomy. Then the other structure, accessory structure of the urinary system, which are the ureter and the urinary bladder and urethra. So we will go over the gross anatomy of the ureter, their microscopic anatomy, then urinary bladder, urethra, their gross and microscopic anatomy. Okay. So before we do, let's go over the overview of urinary system. The general function of the urinary system is to maintain plasma volume and chemical composition. So the main function of the urinary system or the kidney is like it is a water purification unit. You can see in the city we have water purification, water uh, filtration plant. So is the kidney in our bodies. Okay, we have bilateral two kidneys and they are connected to the channels, which are the blood vessels, to your heart. So when a heart pumps blood, it comes to the kidney filter it, and then it return back to the heart. Okay. So if you have seen the dialysis, when kidney is not functioning, what does it do? One side, doctor will put the cannula in your vein, and then another side in another vein, and then they pass through the dialysis device and then connect in other side of the body. So you're taking blood, filtering it and putting inside. So this is like a filtration unit in our body. Okay. When it filter, what does it do? It filter your plasma. It filters all the ions, the white blood cells, and most of the blood cells are not filtered. Only the smaller particles which are not negatively charged are filtered. And among these filters, again, the kidney absorb back and put into the blood. Whatever is not absorbed is excreted in the form of urine. So urine excrete pretty much metabolites of the nutrients which have eaten. Urine is extra water in our body. Urine is extra ions like hydrogen, potassium, calcium, urea, creatinine, and uric acid, which is this urea, creatinine, and uric acid. They are the like urea. Urea is the waste product of amino acid metabolism. Uric acid is waste product of nucleic acid metabolism. Creatinine is waste product from creatine phosphatase, which is found in your muscle to make ATP. And these all die and they release these things once they are used. So after the metabolism, we produce this waste product, urea, creatinine, and uric acid, and that should be excreted. And these three component is excreted mainly through your kidney and sometimes some amount with your sweating. That's why kidney maintains your blood plasma, and so it maintains your blood pressure. It excretes waste products like excess water, excess salts, excess other ions, excess intermediate products, and maintains the chemical homeostasis of our plasma. It also maintains a acid-base balance by maintaining bicarbonate and the hydrogen ion in our body. Apart from this, kidney has other function. There, in the kidney nearby your nephron, there is extra juxtaglomerular apparatus, and they act as endocrine system. They produce some renin hormone or enzyme, we call them, and they maintain blood pressure. So kidney has role in maintaining your blood pressure. Kidney also activate vitamin D. It has enzymes which activates vitamin D. And that's why vitamin D helps in absorption of calcium to make your bone stronger. Okay. So vitamin D becomes active in your kidney. These are general function of the kidney. Okay. So let's start with these all. Apart from that, kidney also produce another hormone that is called EPO. EPO is short form of a hormone called erythropoietin. What does erythropoietin do?
Blood cell formation.
It helps in formation of erythrocytes, particularly which blood cell? Red blood cells. Okay. So important function of the kidney is to maintain chemical consistency of blood, which maintains the chemicals compound, as I described earlier, filter many liters of fluid from the body. Blood, like 180 liters of fluid are filtered every day. Okay. Send toxins, metabolic waste, excess water out of the body. So whatever, if you drink more water, then it will excrete more. If you drink less, in that case, it will excrete less and keep more water inside your body. So you are maintaining normal blood volume. And then main waste product excreted by urinary system is urea, uric acid, and creatinine. Urea is from metabolism of amino acids. Uric acid is metabolic product of nucleic acid, like DNA metabolism. Creatinine is coming from creatine phosphatase from your skeletal muscle. Okay. So organs of the urinary system. The main organ of the urinary system or the renal system is the kidney. This kidney lies in the posterior abdominal wall behind the peritoneum. That's why kidneys are retroperitoneal organ. On top of both kidney, there is a gland that is called suprarenal gland or adrenal gland. And these glands are not the part of renal system. They are the part of endocrine system. Okay. So as you say, kidneys are the kidney bean shape, both side. And the lateral surface of the kidney is convex, medial surface is concave. And this area is called hilum, where the artery, renal artery, enters into the kidney. If you see the aorta and inferior vena cava, aorta is slightly left side of the midline of your body, and inferior vena cava is slightly right side of your vertebra. So the right renal artery here, this side, right renal artery is longer than the smaller than the left renal artery because aorta is slightly towards the left side. Similarly, left vein, renal vein is longer than the right renal vein because inferior vena cava is in the right side slightly. That's why it takes a long time to go to the kidney. So renal artery takes blood in the kidney and filter your blood, and then renal vein return whatever is not filtered blood part. Whatever filtrate is made by the kidney is passing through a tubular organ like your GI tract organ, but very tiny. And that tubular organ is called ureter. So we have bilateral two ureter. This ureter start from the medial surface of the kidney, and then it come down and then join the organ which holds urine, and that is called urinary bladder. This is the sac organ which holds urine. Once urine is stored in the urinary bladder, about 200 ml, then we have another organ in the renal system that is called urethra. in urethra, there are two guards, two valves. Internal valves is called internal urethral sphincter, and external is called external urethral sphincter. Internal is made up of a smooth muscle, and external is made up of skeletal muscle. So when there is 200 ml urine, there is a stretch on the wall of urinary bladder, and a stretch receptor takes the impulse from the internal sphincter to the brain, and then brain relax, spinal cord relax the internal sphincter. And that's the time you feel like you have to pass the urine, urge for void. But external sphincter have voluntary muscles, which you have control over. So when you feel like you have to go restroom, you look for privacy. And if there is no restroom, then you constrict external urethral sphincter and you hold urine. When you find the privacy and restroom, that's the time you relax. Both internal is already relaxed, and then you relax the external and contract bladder, and you pass the urine outside with the abdominal pressure increase too. That is the part of the urination. So the main part organs of the urinary system is two kidneys, bilateral in the lumbar region. The next tube which carry urine is ureter. The sac which holds urine is urinary bladder, and the tract which takes urine outside the body is urethra. This is showing the female urethra, because you see here is uterus. So female urethra is smaller than the male urethra. Female urethra is only 4 centimeter long, whereas male urethra is 19 centimeter long. And male urethra runs through the corpus spongiosum part of the penis. That's why the length of the urethra is the length of the penis. Okay, that is the difference between male and female urethra. Okay, so location and external anatomy of the kidney. So where is kidney exactly located in our body? They are retroperitoneal. That means kidneys are behind the peritoneum. So if peritoneum is not covered, then kidney has a lot of chance that it's going to get infection. That's why kidney has several coverings. So let's see here, covering of the kidney. So the outermost covering is number one, is fascia, not fascia, like, let me show you, what is that called? Do I have kidney here? No. Okay, here you go. So this outer fibrous capsule. So outermost is the fibrous capsule. I'll come here. The outermost covering of the kidney is fibrous capsule, because it is not, it has no peritoneum. So the chance is high that it can be prone to infection. That's why there is 3 layers of covering. There is fibrous capsule first. After that, outside of the fibrous capsule, there is number 2. That is fascia, perirenal fascia, we call them. And the third one is perirenal fat. Okay. So a lot of fat is covering them too. And due to these coverings, it is highly protected from any neighboring infection. Okay. Okay. So they are located retroperitoneally, and these are the layers which protects them even they are not covered by the peritoneum. They are lateral to T12 to L3 vertebra, and the Right side of the kidney is slightly lower than the left because right side there is diaphragm over the kidney. Average kidney size is 12 centimeter tall, 6 centimeter wide, and 3 centimeter thick. Okay. Hilus, as I said earlier, is concave medial surface where vessel nerves exit and enter. So all the blood vessel, like artery enters, veins exit, nerve enters, lymphatic exit from them, and then renal capsule surrounds the kidney. So these are the fibrous capsule. Okay. Here you go. If you see the kidney, this is the T12 vertebra, 11, and this is T5. So this is 4, 3, 2. And right side is slightly lower because here under the diaphragm you have the liver, and liver is giving pressure. That's why right side kidney is slightly lower. You can see ureter, and you see the urethral opening here too. And this is the urethra opening in the bladder. And if you draw the line here, if you take this 2 line and then you draw here, this makes a triangle. Yes, this area of triangle is called, anybody? This is called trigone of the bladder. Trigone, trigone of the bladder. Okay. Okay. So now the internal anatomy of the kidney. And here is the link. You can watch the kidney dissection video. So let's see the structure of the kidney. This diagram is very, very important to understand. Okay. So first, the area of the kidney. So outermost, we have perirenal fascia, perirenal fat, everything is removed. We have only fibrous capsule left. If you go deep to the fibrous capsule, then you have all outer thin area here, you see. So this area is from, let me draw here, area from here to here, area from outer to this area, this thin area. This area is called cortex. Everybody got it? So the area, you see this triangular structure? The area outside the triangular structure is called cortex. From here all the way. That is called cortex of the kidney. In the cortex of the kidney, you see very granular structure, like you see granular, darker. And then you see several triangular structure, whose base is here and base is outside and apex is medially. Okay. So these all triangular area structure and some tubules. This area is called medulla. Okay. That's the medulla of the kidney. In the medulla, each triangular structure is called pyramid. Pyramid has base and apex here, you can see. So we have pyramid, several pyramid, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see 6 pyramid in this frontal section of the kidney. Okay. Now, if you see pyramid, each pyramid is opening through like a papilla, finger-like projection. And that is called papilla. And you see in the papilla small dots, can you see there? Those dots are the openings, which when blood is filtered, is passing in the form of urine here. Okay, we're going to talk about that. So that's papilla. Now each pyramid is separated from each other by invagination of the cortex. So cortex is invaginating inside, and that structure is called renal columns. So up to now, the important structure I have said, kidney has cortex and kidney has the medulla. Okay. So cortex is outside, medulla is inside. In the medulla, we talked about renal pyramid and the renal columns. The opening of the pyramid is papilla here. This is the papilla. Papilla opens into a smaller duct, and that duct is called minor calyx. You see here? So this duct open here. This is called minor calyx. This one, like here, minor calyx. And then when more than one minor calyx joins, like here, this minor calyx and this minor calyx, then we call it major calyx. You see, major calyx, these holes you see are coming from other pyramids. There is several pyramids. When these all major calyx joins, then it forms renal pelvis. And then renal pelvis continue as ureter. Okay. So this is the gross anatomy. When we see with our naked eye, we can see this structure. Let's see, I'll talk a little bit about the blood vessels of the kidney structure. Whatever I'm saying here, all are incoming slides. You can see them. This is a good diagram, so I'm explaining here. You see renal artery. Renal artery is the branch of which artery?
The aorta.
The aorta. Very good. This is the branch of aorta. So from aorta, renal artery is coming. Once it comes and enters the hilum, then it branch. Okay. Once it branches, the first branching is segmental arteries. You see, it get into different segment. Like it goes to pretty much in between the, it pass through the columns. And then segmental arteries divide, and then it becomes another artery that is called interlobar arteries. Interlobar arteries goes to the lobes. So you see, most of the branching of the artery is not branching in the medullary region. They are going all the way outside in the cortex. So interlobar arteries are the arteries which are in between the pyramids. This interlobar artery then divide and becomes arch. You see, they are like a bow. Okay. And that arch arteries are called arcuate, which is the branch of interlobar artery. Now, arch artery or arcuate artery give straight branch, which is radiating from the arch, and that is called cortical radiate artery. You see here, up to here you can see. Now it is hard to see without microscope. This cortical artery further branch, if you magnify and see, and that forms the afferent arteriole. And then afferent arteriole becomes capillaries, and that feed the glomerulus. And we're going to talk about, okay? So these artery, small arteries here in the cortex, all these small arteries, they are like millions. These are arteries branch becomes capillaries and feed the glomerulus. And they filter your blood, and then they pass through the, you see small tubes in the pyramid, filtrate, then pass through the pyramids, and then urine pass into your bladder from the ureter. Okay. So oh no, it is. Okay. So frontal section through the kidney, we talked about renal cortex, renal pyramid, renal pelvis. In the renal pelvis, we talked about major calyces, minor calyces, and then we talked about gross vasculature. Renal arteries branches into segmental arteries. So let's see again the artery branching. And I did not talk about the veins. Let me talk about the veins too. So what happens, these capillaries then efferent arteriole and then glomerulus becomes efferent arteriole, and efferent arteriole again becomes capillaries, and they are becomes peritubular capillaries and then veins, and then you see the same names veins return. So cortical radiate vein, then you have interlobar vein, then you have after the interlobar vein, see you have renal vein. You don't have the segmental veins. Okay, so here you go. Aorta, branched artery, renal artery, which pass through the hilum, becomes segmental artery, and then segmental artery branch further and becomes interlobar artery, which runs through the column of the kidney, then becomes arch around the base of the pyramid, and that is arcuate artery. Then radiation from the arcuate artery towards the cortex, cortical radiate artery. Then efferent arteriole, which feeds the Bowman's capsule, and that arteries, tuft of arteries is called, tuft of capillaries is called glomerulus. And then exit from the Bowman's capsule, which is efferent arteriole, and they goes around the nephron, which we have not talked, peritubular capillaries and vasa recta, cortical radiate vein, arcuate vein, interlobar vein, renal vein. There is no segmental vein, and then it joins the inferior vena cava. Okay. So let's see the microscopic structure of the kidney. So let me go here and show you here this diagram, and then I will come back. You guys look at it 1 minute, and then I will talk about it. It will be easier that way. Go to kidney, revisit what I have talked earlier, the cortex and medulla of the kidney. Then you see the section, go over it, and then go over here. Just get a little familiar so I will explain it easily. And visualize this structure in your own kidney, then you will grasp and retain it for a long time. Okay. So now we are putting the microscope on this section, one of the pyramid and the cortex of the kidney. So from here to here, what we see in this section, we will see this kind of a structure like in thousands of, tens of thousands. Okay. So such tubule and such blood vessels will be like tens of thousands. So let me ask you questions. I'm going to ask individually because this is important to understand. I'm going to ask Ali Robinson, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so in this diagram, you see here, we have glomerulus and we have the tubules. So which one you think is in the outer cortex part of the kidney and which one you think is in the inner medullary part of the kidney?
Between the glomerulus and the tubules?
So glomerulus are in the cortex or medullary region?
The cortex.
Good. That is in the cortex. And all other structures,
Are in the
the
medulla.
loop one, are in the medullary. So all the tubules and the glomerulus are in the
The
cortex.
cortex.
Yep. Good. So let's see here, if we take one of the section of the glomerulus. So we had afferent arteriole coming from the renal artery here. Afferent arteriole is feeding the renal corpuscles. So renal corpuscles are the renal capsule, which is called Bowman's capsule, you can see here, and the tuft of capillaries from the afferent arteriole. What is this called? This is called renal corpuscles. Okay. The renal corpuscles are capillaries and the Bowman's capsule. Bowman's capsule or glomerular capsule has two layers. The outer layer, which is simple squamous epithelium, you can see, and there is inner layer which is attached to the blood vessel. That is called visceral layer of glomerular capsules. And their structure are like foot. You see, this is the cell, and cell has like a lot of hippopotamus like feet. So we call them podo means feet, podocytes. And between these two layers, there is a space here, and that is called Bowman's space. You're going to see that later. Okay. So let's see just the structure. So when blood is going inside our cortex, then blood is passing here after branching, and then blood is filtered. Then blood passes through the first coiled part of the nephron, that is called proximal convoluted tubule. Then it goes down and loop towards the medulla. This is called loop of Henle. This is the name of some guy. It has thin section, thin descending section, and thin ascending section. And then ascending thick limb, and then it again coils, and that is called distal convoluted tubules. And then it joins the larger duct that is called collecting duct. So collecting duct and this all structure is called seminiferous tubules. Okay, so this collecting duct, all the tubules and the glomerulus is called uriniferous tubules. So uriniferous tubule is made up of collecting duct, the tubules, and the glomerulus. Glomerulus and these tubules are called the nephron. So nephron is made up of glomerular corpuscles and renal tubules. I want you to get clear because I'm going to ask which one of the following is not the part of uriniferous tubules, which one of the following is not the part of renal corpuscles or glomerular corpuscles, which one of the following is not the part of renal tubules. So again, uriniferous tubules, everything. Glomerular corpuscles, glomerulus, this tuft of capillaries, and Bowman's capsule. Nephron, the tubules and the glomerular corpuscles. Okay. Now what happens? Such nephron are in the hundreds of thousands tens of thousands in each pyramid. So you see, they all are joining from all sides. And if you go in physiology, you're going to see the region of the kidney outside and inside is totally different from each other. Outside is like a very low osmolality and inside is very hyperosmolar. Okay. Now what happens to these efferent arterioles? Efferent arteriole again become capillaries and then wrap around the peritubular capillaries and the loop. And we're going to talk about here. So when we filter there, to understand the kidney, we have to understand the function of this nephron, because these nephrons are the smallest kidney inside the kidney. That's why nephrons are defined as structural and functional unit of the kidney. Okay. So like if the CT is the kidney and every house is the unit of the CT, then kidney is the CT and every nephron is the house. Analogy. Okay. So let's see the histology. If you see the parietal layer of the glomerular capsule, and then you magnify here glomerular capsule and you can see the cell structure. But when you go to the first part of the tubule, which is proximal convoluted tubule, and take one cell here, this is the apical surface and this is the basal surface. Basal surface means this is outside and this is towards the lumen inside of the tubule. So what do you see here? The apical surface plasma membrane.
Microvilli.
Microvilli, because microvilli is needed for absorption. That's why most of the filtrate, almost 65%, is reabsorbed in proximal convoluted tubule. And then if you see distal convoluted tubule, you see they are different. They have not a lot of microvilli. If you see loop, they have different. If you see other cells collecting duct, you can see their structures different. Okay. So this is the structure of the kidney. So now you imagine in your kidney, there are a small kidney and that is called
Nephron.
the nephron. Good. And we're going to go detail now from there. Okay, so renal corpuscles are glomerulus and glomerular capsule. Glomerulus is the tuft of capillaries and capillaries of glomerulus are fenestrated. Let me tell you one thing. Fenestrated means, what does exactly it means? So let's see, this is the glomerulus capillaries here. And if you magnify and take one cell here, endothelial cells of the glomerulus. Let's see, this is the cell. What are you going to see? You're going to see holes in the plasma membrane of this cell. I cannot make, they are like very tiny holes. So how it looks if you make the hole in the cell. Oh, I am going to, let's make different way. So you have a cell here. And then there is a small hole between the, so this is pretty much one cell, but there is small hole in the cell. And that is called fenestrated. That means in the endothelial cells of the glomerulus, there is holes. This is in the liver too. Do you remember? We did portal circulation in the liver. They have two. Due to these holes in the plasma membrane of the endothelial cells, they are highly porous. That's why they, through the glomerulus, there is a high rate of filtration. Okay. The glomerular capsule or Bowman's capsules have parietal layer. They are made up of simple squamous epithelial. Visceral layer consists of podocytes. Why we call them podocytes? Because these cells have put process. So let's go and magnify one of the glomerulus so we understand. You see, this is efferent arteriole, and this is glomerular capillaries, which is tough capillaries. And then when it joins and exit, it is efferent arteriole. And you see this is parietal, simple squamous epithelium. And then visceral layer is completely Golgi cells are attached to the capillaries. You see, one cell, another cell, and they have feet. They have the feet. So these feet of one cell is interdigitating with another cell. You see my hand? Like this is one cell, this is another cell. They have feet, and their feet are tangled with each other. And when they tangle over the capillaries, which is highly porous, they create like a filter. And that's how when blood passes through here, it is filtered and then filtrate pass down here in the proximal convoluted tube. Okay. Okay. So now let's see, this is one of the pyramid. And one of the pyramid, there is thousands of nephron, but we are talking about some few nephrons. So in pyramid, you're gonna see there are some nephrons are mainly in the cortical region. Some nephrons are more inside the medullary region. Okay. So the nephrons whose 2/3 part is in the cortex, we call them cortical nephron. And the nephron whose more than 2/3 part is in the length is in the medulla, we call them juxtamedullary nephron. And due to the glomerulus are microscopic. They are microscopic structure. That's why when you see whole kidney and see in the cortex, you're going to see granular structure. Okay. So what happened? You see nephron, Bowman's capsule here is filtering, blood is going, urine is passing here, and then join the collecting duct open into the papilla through the papillary duct, and then papillary ductor drain into the minor calyces. Okay. The significance of juxtaglomerular nephron, which has long loop, these long loop nephron makes your urine concentrated. That means these nephrons absorb most of the water which your body needs when you are not drinking enough. Okay. So this 50% of the nephron are very active when you are dehydrated. They keep all the filtrate. They do not allow to absorb from here or here. Okay. From this area, particularly from the loop. They don't absorb, they pretty much absorb all the water and do not allow to join the papillary duct or the collecting duct. So you preserve water. So if I ask you a question here, if you understood it, camels drink water once in a month, and we drink like 4 or 5 times per day. Are you following me? So obviously camel works with less water, and still they maintain their blood pressure, their plasma. Which animals, human being or camels, you think will have more juxtamedullary nephron?
Camels.
Camels will have more juxtamedullary nephron because camels needs to conserve all the water they drink. And that's why they do not pee. They pee very little and very dark urine. Okay. So same thing here. This is the medullary layer and there is cortical layer, and this is showing arrangement of blood capillaries again. So again, you see, this is the cortex of the kidney, and here is the medullary layer. And if you magnify, what do you see? You have the arcuate artery, cortical radiate artery, then efferent arteriole, then glomerulus, and then efferent arteriole. Glomerulus, when blood come here due to hydrostatic pressure, blood is filtered and then it passes into PCT, then loop, and then DCT. And then DCT joins the collecting duct. But what happens to efferent arteriole? That's what this slide is showing. So efferent arteriole immediately after getting out of the glomerular capsule becomes again another bed of capillaries. So this is like a portal system. Artery, capillaries, again, vein. So double bed of capillaries. That's why this is the portal system. Okay. So what is renal corpuscles composed of here? Glomerular capillaries, which is called glomerulus, and glomerular capsule, which is called Bowman's capsule. So these two structures are renal corpuscles. Now these artery branches and becomes the veins, and which intertwingle around the peritubular capillaries, and that is called around the tubules, and that's why we call them peritubular capillaries. The same capillaries comes here and also wrap around the loop, and this is called vega recta. Are you following me? So vega recta is the peritubular capillaries around the loop, but they are the same thing. These peritubular capillaries ultimately, what they do? They drain into the vein, okay? And that vein ultimately drain into the cortical vein and then inferior vena cava. So blood coming and blood going out. So now urine is formed by three processes. So urine formation processes are three methods, and that is called the filtration, reabsorption, and secretion. So filtration is when blood is passed here, it is filtered and passed into the glomerular capsule, and then glomerular space, and then in tubules. That is called here filtration. 99% of the things are absorbed in peritubular capillaries. So they are absorbed from the tubules into the peritubular capillaries. That is called reabsorption. Some of the materials are not filtered, which is secreted actively using ATP into these tubules from the capillaries, and that is called secretion. So filtration, reabsorption, and secretion are the mechanism of urine formation. Okay. The kidney also maintains our blood pressure. So blood pressure is maintained by juxtaglomerular apparatus. What is that? Juxtaglomerular apparatus. So if you see here, there is some cells, special cells in the afferent arteriole and the ascending limb of the loop of Henle wall. Okay. So in the afferent arteriole wall, there is cells called granular cells. Granular cells produce, when there is like high volume of blood and more pressure here, then these cells produce renin. And renin then helps in increased secretion of aldosterone hormone, which increase the water and salt and increase your blood pressure. Okay. If there is more pressure, there is less renin secretion. If there is more pressure, then they are less. If it's less, then they are more. So basically for now, you don't go in physiology. For you, it is how what does it do? So it's this granular cells produce renin, which helps in maintaining your blood pressure. Then macula densa sense the osmolality of the content of ascending limb of loop of Henle. And if there is more solid particle, more or smaller, then they send to the brain, and you try to excrete more salt later by maintaining the, again, aldosterone and the antidiuretic hormone, and then you send that sense to the collecting duct, so you absorb more water. Okay, so these macula densa and the granular cells and some cells in between, this is called mesangial cells, together is called juxtaglomerular apparatus, which maintain your blood pressure. Okay, so juxtaglomerular apparatus function in the regulation of blood pressure. Juxtaglomerular cells secrete renin, macula densa portion of distal convoluted tubule, and they are chemoreceptors, so they detect the chemical compound, the ions and the solid particles like osmoreceptors. Now other organs, ureter carry urine from kidney to the urinary bladder, and they open into your bladder obliquely, so it prevents backflow of urine. And if you see histology of urine, it has the same layers you see here. Outermost is adventitia, then muscularis externa, which are just opposite of the GI tract. GI tract has outer longitudinal, inner circular, but here you see outer circular and inner longitudinal. And then epithelium is transitional epithelium, and open space inside is lumen, which is always closed, open only when you are passing the urine. Urinary bladder, you can see when the urine is full, urinary bladder is pelvic organ. You can see, feel it above your symphysis pubis, but when it is empty, it is pelvic organ. Okay. So this is the smooth muscle wall of the urinary bladder, and then you see ureter. Ureter opens in the oblique way so that when bladder fills, it is not regurgitating the urine back into the ureter. It prevents backflow of urine from the bladder into the ureter because it has oblique opening into the bladder. Then under the bladder, we have urethra, and urethra is surrounded by a gland called prostate gland, which is found only in male. That's why you call it male glands. And this prostate gland also helps in prostatic fluid for the ejaculation and add to the semen. Okay. So if you see urethra in the male, this is the frontal section. You can see this is urinary bladder, and then oblique opening of the ureter here. And then where there is ureter opening, you have three here. This is oblique opening, and this is urethral opening. This is the triagone of bladder. And then this is the bladder neck. And once it is out through the pelvic diaphragm muscles, you see here, then you have internal urethral sphincter. And in male, there is lower urogenital diaphragm, which is external urethral sphincter. Between these internal and external, you have prostate gland, and then urethra is passing. Urethra has three parts in male. When it is passing through the prostate gland, we call it prostatic urethra. When it passed through the urogenital diaphragm, that is membranous urethra. And then when it runs through the corpus spongiosum of the erectile tissue of penis, then we call them spongy urethra. And there is external urethral orifice. Okay. This is the female urinary bladder and urethra. You can see how small is female urethra. That's why the chance of urinary tract infection in female is very high, because female has a small urethra, and the opening of urethra is near to the opening of anus and vaginal opening. That's why contamination is high in female to get urinary tract infection. If male gets urinary tract infection, that means there is problem. There is either anatomical deformity in the urethra, or that individual is suffering from some kind of the immunological disorders or there is some trauma through the urethra. Usually you don't. Okay. Urethra, we talked about it. Okay. So female urethra length 3 to 4 centimeter, males 20 centimeter long, and 3 regions. We talked about it. Okay. So what we did the urinary system. The main organ is kidney, and then ureter, urethra, and urinary bladder. Kidney is the main filtering organ, and other organs are accessory organs which carry urine. Inside the kidney, there is a small kidney that is called nephron, and nephron has 2 sections. One is filtering unit, another is carrying unit. Filtering unit is the glomerulus, and reabsorption unit is the tubules which are in the cortex, and the loop is in the medulla. And medulla loop joins the tubules joins the collecting duct, which opens in the medulla, and then you carry urine from the medullary region to the sinus, then to the pelvis, and then to the urethra. Okay. So this is all about the urinary system, guys. Any question? If not, thank you, guys.
Thank you.